Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. I'm in the studio. You know the dance by now. Get involved in the chat and the comments. We're going to be talking about all things Manchester United, which means we're going to be talking about all things the World Cup. Yes, because the Reds are absolutely dominating the tournament in Qatar, scoring goals, getting assists, getting clean sheets for defenders, obviously, and also picking up bagfuls of man of the match trophies, or player of the match, I should say, trophies as well. It has been a very good World Cup from a Manchester United point of view, not least of all last night with Sir Marcus Rashford, because it's only a matter of time, let's face facts, bagging a brace against Wales to see England through as top of the group, Group B, facing Senegal on Sunday. Rashford, who has had a lot of stick over the years, well, not over the year, well, yeah, over the years, but also since missing that penalty against Italy in the Euros, bouncing back with them and then some, scored a goal the other day, obviously against Iran, getting his brace in his first World Cup start, I think, since, was it Belgium or something last year, where he, last year, in the last World Cup where he got a start? I think he did start one game, didn't he, in the World Cup? Anyway, first World Cup start this tournament, scoring England's 100th goal in the World Cup as well, I believe, from what he said on his socials, and bagging that free kick as well, which I doubted. I apologise, Marcus, because I doubted you were going to score it, and you absolutely scored it and then some. And he dedicated his goal. If you saw him pointing up to the sky there, you see, he doesn't usually do that when he celebrates, but apparently, unfortunately, lost a friend. Well, not apparently, he did. Unfortunately, lost a friend to cancer, so that was dedicated to his friend. I mean, he's just doing good work in Marcus Rashford. He's one of the good guys, you know what I mean? Whether it's feeding kids, challenging the government, getting things changed to help others, or dedicating goals to someone he's lost. He's just, you know, there's a lot to like about Marcus Rashford. And I hope we see him starting against Senegal, because there's already a few reports in the papers this morning about Gareth Southgate's dilemma. What's he going to do? Is he going to go back to Raheem Sterling and maybe even Bukayo Saka instead of Foden and Rashford, or both of Foden and Rashford going to keep the places? Obviously, Foden scored as well, or one of them. We'll have to wait and see what Gareth Southgate's done. Yes, I'm biased. I want Marcus to start. But I also think Raheem Sterling's been a bit underwhelming this World Cup. I know he got his goal against Iran. Don't think he had a particularly great game. I don't think he did anything against the USA. Get involved in the chat and the comments. Is it a bit of a no-brainer? Because let's not forget, Marcus Rashford right now is joint top scorer in this World Cup. He's on for the Golden Boot. He's up there with the Mbappes of this world, and Cody Gakpo we'll get to in a minute as well. So it would seem a little bit harsh to drop the boy when he's banging in the goals. I'll get into some of the comments. Loads of people commenting already. Santa Notch says, Arriva Divisi, Bangkok Century Cup, World Cup. Ten Hag is winning the treble in 6 months. Let's have it. Yes, that's all that matters. That Bangkok Century Cup was probably the highlight of my time as a United fan, being there for that in Thailand. Matt Lebita says, Martial will do damages. Yeah, I think Martial, had he stayed fit this season, I think he would have been in with a shout of making that French squad, definitely. But it was too little, too late, I think. Ryan Belmont says, where's the tattoo, Jay? I may have got myself in a bit of a pickle last night by declaring if Marcus scores his free kick, I'm going to get a tattoo of his name on my neck. It's under discussion. I'll say no more. Might have some explaining to do when I have a Marcus Rashford tattoo. My first ever tattoo, and none of my kids have made the cut. Yeah, Wilkins, loads of people asking about the tattoo. Dave P said, Rashford said on Twitter this morning, if he wins Golden Boot, he'll get a J tattoo on his head. Yeah, there you go. Star-Lord says, Motti MVP. Thanks for that. Get in the comments. Let us know what you thought about England last night. You might not care about England, right? I understand. And it's not even if you're necessarily, I know we've got a lot of fans and people who watch the show who aren't from England. I know we've got a lot of people who are from England who still don't care about England. It's difficult at times being a Manchester United fan and trying to get behind England when you remember things like the David Beckham effigy and the dartboard and the treatment of Phil Neville and the treatment of Cristiano Ronaldo. Although probably people aren't too bothered about that anymore, but it wasn't great. Even last, like I said, last summer, the treatment that Marcus and Jadon Sancho got as well. Sometimes being an England fan when you're a United fan is difficult. And then there's also people who just don't care about England. I understand all that, but we all care about Manchester United, don't we? So it's good to see Marcus continuing his good form for Manchester United, bringing that into the World Cup. And he's just firing at the minute. And I hope that what happens is he has a good tournament. I said this before the tournament. He has a good tournament, scores loads of goals, and brings that back to his Manchester United form. Because if he's on form, Marcus Rashford, if he's getting goals, getting in behind defenders, scoring free kicks as well, which is, you know, a bit of a turn up, then it can only be a positive thing for Manchester United. And I think that, you know, so far we've seen this season how effective he's been. There's more pressure on him now at United with Ronaldo going. We don't know who's going to come in. We're going to get to that in a minute. So, you know, he has got a lot of responsibilities on his shoulders, but he's someone who can handle it. He's 25 years old now. He's been in and around the Manchester United first team for about, 6-7 years. So you look at him and you go, this is a player who, not at his peak yet, but he should be getting into those sort of numbers that we haven't quite seen yet from Marcus, because we've had a couple of seasons where he's hit 20-odd goals. I think he can push that. I really do, and I hope he does it this season. Let us know what you think in the comments. Sam C says Rash is on fire. Vincent says, I like the shiny head, man. Ines Fusi says, I jumped out my seat when Rashford's free kick went in. Usually I don't care. I just want United players to play well. Yep, I think that's the sort of the story for all of us, isn't it? You know, if you don't care about England or whatever, you want United players to do well. It's funny because when we were watching the Iran game, I celebrated England goals. I wanted England to win. But I didn't celebrate him like I celebrated when Marcus scored his goal in that game. That felt like a proper, moment, because obviously he's one of our own, isn't he? As we don't really sing that. We sing, you know, like Manchester, Rashford is red. So we know, like I said, Marcus dedicating the goal to his friend. Also, he's not the only one who's had a lot to deal with during this World Cup. Ornstein tweeted last night, David Ornstein, Luke Shaw said the memory of his grandmother is inspiring him to succeed in Qatar. Bereavement came on the eve of first England game, and the England boss Gareth Southgate offered Luke Shaw time off, but the United left back says he's grieved and full focus is on the World Cup. You know, footballers are human beings, and it's not easy losing a loved one, losing your gran just before the World Cup starts, especially when, you know, you've already got a lot of pressure on you, a lot of expectation. You're trying to get into that mindset of you've got a job to do, and then you get some tragic news like that. Can't be easy, but I think Luke Shaw's done really well. I really do. I think he's having a good World Cup. And also, when you're having to deal with things like that, you've got to give these players credit. And I hate when people say, well, they get paid enough, and well, that's got nothing to do with anything. If you're dealing with a tragedy, you're dealing with a tragedy. It doesn't matter if you're getting £1 million a week or you're on £10 a week. You've still got to deal with it. And I think that, you know, you've got to give Luke Shaw and Marcus as well, who's obviously had to suffer a loss as well recently, credit for the way they've got on with it. Should we talk about other players in the World Cup as well? Because it's not just Marcus Rashford, is it? Because we've got you can see the thumbnail. This is United's World Cup. Well, why is it United's World Cup? Well, let's look at Bruno Fernandes. Now, there was goal gate, wasn't there? Hairline gate, should we call it? Cristiano Ronaldo wanted to claim, I think, the first goal that Bruno scored the other night. He was saying that touched his hair, basically. Was it the Uruguay game? So Bruno scored a brace. The first goal, it was a bit of a cross, I think, to be fair. Ronnie's gone to edit. It's gone straight in. Now, Ronnie's claimed it. FIFA have looked into it. And if you look at the flight of the ball, you know, you can always see, can't you, the ball rotating. And when it sort of brushes past or goes past Ronnie, it doesn't change, the rotation doesn't change, so you think he's not touched it. FIFA or Adidas have also got this technology, I think, in the ball that sort of has a sensor in it. I know, game's gone on it. I never had this when I was, playing football as a kid. Imagine that in your 50p football. Technology that tells you whether the ball's been touched. They say it hadn't. So Bruno Fernandes got awarded the goal. He already had 2 assists from the first game. He also got player of the match as well. So he's got 2 goals, 2 assists, and player of the match. Casemiro, he's another one. Casemiro, who, let's have it right, he's not renowned for his goal scoring. That's not what he's about. He's a holding midfielder. But he got a goal as well the other night against Switzerland. He got the winner. So, and player of the match as well. So he's flying. You also look at the fact, I've mentioned Marcus Rashford. You look at that Iran game, you had Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire getting in on the act with assists. Look at what's happening with Argentina as well. Lisandro Martinez coming in there. They had a bit of a stinker in the first game against Saudi Arabia when Martinez wasn't on the pitch. Since he's been on the pitch for Argentina, they've not conceded a goal, and he's played very, very well indeed. So it's just been a fantastic tournament so far for Manchester United players. You know, you look at it, whether it's for England, whether it's for Portugal, whether it's for Brazil, they're all doing really well. You have all 3 England players from Manchester United who were in the squad. You had all 3 of them starting last night, and all 3 did very well, which is what you want to see. Like I said, if you don't care about England, that's fair enough. I'm not going to try and bang the England drum for you. I understand that school of thought completely. Matthew Sargent in the Super Chat, who's a member of the Academy for 2 years, says, he's born to play in red and white. Yes, I love that chant. I do. I'm not a some of the chants at Old Trafford, I'm a bit like, but the Marcus Rashford one, I proper love. Jonas Loic says, I don't give a F who score. Fair enough. Jamie Gillespie says, not to get political, Jay. You obviously know me very well, sir. I don't get political. But what do you think of Apple's behaviour in China? You boycotting? Oh, right. Okay. I'll have to have a look at that. I will have a look at that because I'm not as au fait as I should be. I'm just having a little quick Google there. But apparently they're making it harder for protesters to speak out. I think that's an article I've just seen there, which is obviously something I don't agree with. If you know me, I'm quite, vocal about the fact that I'm relatively left-wing, and I think you should have the right to protest, especially if you're getting persecuted. But I'll look into that before I start wading in with my 2 penneth. Nomad says, same dudes who aren't big on England will be the first ones celebrating if we win the World Cup, aka Housen. I think he walks a fine line on his day, where the old England thing. I think it was in his England top for the first game, at the England game, and they did a video saying he's not bothered about England. Listen, I've always had that opinion. You might not care about England, but you just, you're a United fan, you care about United, and there's 3 United players playing for England, so you want them to do well. I would much rather Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire, and Marcus Rashford came back from the World Cup with the tails up, buzzing, because they've had a mint tournament. Maybe, I know it's not likely, but maybe they've even won it, and they're buzzing, then come back, and they're just a bit down. And like, oh, it's a bit of a nightmare. Everyone's on the case. We've just got to be mindful of it, because it's a bit weird sometimes. Because Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw had a good Euros and then came back, just didn't look at it. Different though this time, because it's in the middle of the season. So you're coming back. You've not really got a break. It's going to be back. The Burnley game is what? Is it 2 days after the World Cup final? So if England do, get to the World Cup final, again, not likely, but you never know, then those 3 are going to be goosed if you expect them to play against Burnley. Alistair Graff says, I'm drawn between heritage is England or Netherlands for me, but love seeing our guys do well. Yeah, the Netherlands are having a decent tournament, and one player who is doing well is that bloke, Cody Gakpo. Now, he's been heavily linked with Manchester United for probably about 6 months. It looked like at one point he was going to come in the summer. But I think the move for Anthony and the cost of getting Anthony, that scuppered it meant it didn't happen. I'm just looking at Sky here. They do a paper roundup. I think they've got one from the Sun. Don't buy the Sun, by the way. It says Manchester United reportedly in talks with Cody Gakpo's agents as they look to swoop for the PSV star. Now, he's having a very good season, Cody Gakpo. Not only is he banging him in for Holland in this World Cup, 3 goals so far, joint top scorer with our very own Marcus Rashford and Kylian Mbappe and Enner Valencia, I think. He's also been banging him in Eredivisie. 9 goals in 14 games so far this season. 13 goals in 24 games in all competitions. Very, very good numbers. Obviously doing well. Absolutely flying in the World Cup as well. So it looks like, there's United's interest that we had in the summer has continued. Now, there were numbers being bandied around the other day, transfer numbers of around 50 million euros, which would be ridiculously good business if you could get him for that. I think there might be something there with his contract not having too many years left on it. So if we can get him, because obviously we've lost Cristiano Ronaldo, I'll get onto him in a minute, that, we need to replace him. You can't just rely on an Anthony Martial who's had his injury problems. Marcus is flying. He can play down the middle. He can play on the left. He can play on the right. I prefer him not to, but he can do. So we know what we can get from him. We can't just rely on him as your main sort of striker when you've got Anthony Martial who's had all these injury issues. And for me, Charlie McNeil isn't quite ready yet to be a regular for the first team. I think that's a pretty reasonable thing to note. I expect him to be a superstar in the future. I think he's probably a season away before we start seeing him in and around the first team. I know he had a cameo, didn't he, against Sociedad, I think. But I'd love to see, Charlie McNeil in the future playing for Manchester United. I don't think it's going to happen this season. So I think we do need a reinforcement or reinforcements. In January, Cody Gakpo certainly fits the bill. And one thing I would say about Gakpo is I don't think you'd be buying him just because of the World Cup. Because I'd be wary of that. If this was, say Gakpo, notice, played for, in the sort of, I don't know, a league you barely knew anything about, a league that wasn't considered one of the top leagues, for a club you didn't know much about, hadn't really played at a top level, and then he's had a good World Cup, and you buy him off the back of that could be problematic. But he hasn't. That isn't the case. He's having a very good season for PSV, and we all know, the Dutch league is a decent standard. We've got players from the Dutch league who are kind of doing all right, aren't they? Let's have it right. The likes of, Martinez and Anthony and the rest of it, and Malacia, of course. So you know that he's playing at a good standard. it's not just about what he's done at the World Cup. The World Cup has just highlighted how good he is. And for many of us, and I'm going to say us because I'm one of them, who haven't seen a lot of him, seen bits of him, it's a good opportunity to get to see him a bit more. You know, you're seeing him in, 3 games in a week? It's very rare I watch Cody Gakpo 3 times in a week. So, yeah, I've been impressed with what I say. I've seen, Patrick Scholten that says Gakpo is also a nice guy. Martin P says, anyone seen the reports about Juve possibly being relegated due to investigations on dodgy transfers? I will laugh solely at Pogba if that happens. I've not seen that, but there's always, well, I shouldn't say that because it's a bit unfair, but there has been issues in the past, haven't there, with Juve? Didn't they get relegated at one point earlier? There was the scandal that went on in Italy a few years ago. Yeah, I haven't seen that. I know there's all sorts going on. Didn't all the board resign or something because they're not going to do the Super League anymore? So, yeah, there's dramas going on there with Juventus. I mean, it doesn't really affect Manchester United, does it? To be honest with you, the Paul Pogba thing, he was a free agent and he went there, so I don't think we need to get we don't think we need to get overly concerned. I don't really have many feelings either way towards Paul Pogba. He had some good moments in a Manchester United shirt. For a spell, he was one of our best players, if not our best player. Didn't quite work out, if we're being brutally honest. Looks like Cristiano Ronaldo, if we can mention him, is on the move to Saudi club for 344 million quid. Obviously, he's a free agent now, having been released or sacked, or however you call it, from Manchester United. There's a report here saying that he's looking like he's going to go to Saudi Arabian club. He was linked with the Saudi club, wasn't he, in the summer. Al Nasser, I think they're called, for 344 million quid across 2.5 years. I mean, that is ridiculous money. Now, obviously, no disrespect to the Saudi Arabian League, but it's not really remotely close to the Premier League. There might be part of Cristiano Ronaldo that wants to go to the Champions League, a Champions League club, and continue his sort of push to, increase his record in that competition. But that kind of money might be difficult to say no to. 344 million. Let us know what you think. Sansonoc, thank you, brother. Calciopoli scandal, yeah. It was mad, wasn't it? Because there was a few clubs that got involved in that. And it obviously affected Serie A for a few years. So, yeah. It looks like Ronaldo could be going to Saudi Arabia. He's obviously going to get a big payday if he does that. Also, the report says that Lionel Messi could be going to the MLS as well. So it's all happening on the transfer fronts with 2 of the biggest names in the game. Manchester United-wise, we have been linked with the likes of Denzel Dumfries, Cody Gakpo, of course, 1 or 2 other players. I think we're in that sort of time now where United, and anyone who has a decent game is going to get linked with United, and some of it will just be paper talk, literally. Others, like with Gakpo, for example, you can see something happening there. There's definite interest there. It's not just a case of, oh, well, he's Dutch and our manager's Dutch and we signed Dutch players now, so we're going to get him. There was obviously something that went down in the summer because we covered it here on this channel almost daily for a little while. The fact we paid 100 million euros, though, for Antony, that was the end of us buying another attacker. We also had Martial and Cristiano Ronaldo. Martial's obviously had his injury issues. Looks like he's on the, he's coming back now, though. Hopefully he can stay fit. Ronaldo's gone. So we need another player for me. If we are going to challenge for the top 4 properly, at least, then we need another attacker. And let's not forget, we had Kieran Maguire on the channel the other day, the football financial expert from The Price of Football. Go and check him out if you've not done already. He's great at just explaining what is going on with the ownership, what is going on with the sale, giving you the options. He's not, he doesn't know everything. He doesn't know who's going to buy Manchester United, but he's very good at explaining who he thinks could and what is going on there. And he was talking about how the fact that Manchester, because I asked him, will Manchester United, now that the club's up for sale, not go big or not buy anyone in January? Because the owners could go, well, we're selling the club. Why should we release any funds? Because it's our money, not theirs, to buy anyone. And he said, well, they might want to buy someone if they think it's going to get them into the Champions League, because United in the Champions League is a more attractive proposition for potential buyers. So it can actually, end up increasing the amount of money the Glazers will get. I mean, they're just laughing at it. It's horrible, isn't it? The fact that they're going to walk away from this with loads of money after ploughing the club into debt and having no care of duty care towards the club and the fans or anything. Yeah, it sickens you, but at least they're going anyway. Tobias Nilsson says it's Joe and Jay. It's Jay and Joe channel now. Thanks for your work since Steve and Adam are out. They're not out. They're coming back. I think Mac is here on Friday. He's going to be back, and we're going to hear from Steve. We've heard from Steve over in Qatar. We're going to be hearing from him again shortly as well. He sold me out for the Brew, didn't he, to go and have dinner with Patrice Evra. That was shocking behaviour, that. I like this one. I'm going to mention this. Abhinav Verma says, Jay, do you think Meghan Markle is relieved now Morgan is obsessed with Ronaldo? I don't think Meghan Markle pays any attention to Piers Morgan. I think that's what gets to him. But he's obsessed with Ronaldo, and he Piers Morgan. He's like trying to paint himself as his best mate, and he's, you know, some sort of authority. Bro, the only reason Ronaldo did that interview is because you paid him loads of money. It's not like he's your bezzy. Get a grip. Anyway, who cares? We'll move on. We'll leave it there. Don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We want to get to 700,000 subscribers. There's loads happening. We've got merchandise on the store, paddockmerch.com. We've got Lisandro Martinez gear. We've got Alejandro Garnacho gear. We've got Marcus Rashford t-shirts. You want a nice Marcus Rashford hoodie or t-shirt, go and check that out over at paddockmerch.com. And also in December, it's not December yet, is it? No. We'll be in Dublin, our first ever live event at Stretford Paddock. Me, Adam McCullough, Stephen Howson, Joe Smith, and Brian McClare. Yes, 4 times, I think it's 4 times, Premier League winner, scorer of 117 goals for Manchester United, including a couple of cup final ones as well. And he was there in the 1991 Cup Winners' Cup final, the greatest achievement in the history of football. Chucky, Brian McClare, was there. So don't you worry about that. Me and Steel, we're picking his brains about that one. So if you can get down to Dublin for the 30th of December, join us there. There's a link in the description. I've been Jay. This has been The Paper Talk. The screen's gone off. I think that's my cue. Thanks for watching.